This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for.
Here's the grand reveal. Thanks to John Martin from up the road, who has put in some pretty serious work to get this back into some playable condition. The frets were very worn and flat. It's the original fret still. He's had to sort of do some work to lower that. Original bridge, but different saddles. I can actually take these off. I've got the original bits and pieces. And thanks so much to Monty's, who've supplied these pickups. So let's plug it in and see what it's like. No one's played this guitar for 20 years, and I know that because I stuck it in the loft after, when I was about 16, 36 now. It's just not been in playable condition. I'm tempted to actually give the body a bit of work. Nice, right. I could almost find myself getting a little bit emotional about this, just because it's kind of like a guitar that is full of obviously so much sentimental value to me. I say obviously, like, I left it in the loft for 20 years. Like, how much sentimental value actually was there? To me, I kind of thought about this as kind of waste. But we had some solar panel work done, and I noticed this body here, and you might have seen the video that I did at the time. I was kind of thinking, like, I should probably do something with this guitar. It was made in 1983, I think. The story goes, essentially, that this was the first electric guitar that I ever bought. My dad at the time, he's still my dad, but basically kind of said that, these Japanese-made guitars are actually very good value. I don't know what else would have been around at that sort of time. This would have been in 1997. So I can't really speak to the quality of other things around, but I would say, like a Japanese-built thing in the heyday of Japanese guitars in some ways. This is the sort of era that Tokai were doing their thing, Fujigen and all that sort of stuff. So this is an Ibanez Roadstar 2. Later on in life, I would kind of discover that the Ibanez Blazer, is that what it's called? Like Alan Holdsworth, I'd see Alan Holdsworth using a guitar with a headstock like this. I do really like this Ibanez headstock. John Martin, I have to give a huge shout out for this. Now, if you're in Devon, I'm going to try and find out a way, but maybe if you're looking for someone to do this kind of work on your guitars. So what did he do? The frets were very flat and also very divoted. So he's got the original frets still on here, but he's kind of got it all playing level, and it's fantastic. And what else did he do? Basically, he's put the guitar back together for me. He's changed the saddles here, and he even made this cover, and very impressively has made this scratch plate as well out of just a blank that I got from Allegory. I didn't have the original pickguard, sorry. I had like a metal scratch plate that I'd used. So the story went that I got this guitar as a kid, and it had, a fairly thick veneer. It was tobacco sunburst, and a guy that had a Tokai in the church that I grew up in when I was about 3 or 4 in Sussex. He had a Tokai that had been red and that he'd sanded back natural, I think, is how the story went. And me and my dad thought that might be a good idea. So one sort of afternoon, I kind of started sanding away at the guitar, and found that there was a very thick veneer that you just couldn't sand through. And my next thing was that we went up to my neighbour, who I assume at this point must have passed away. Tom Martineau was his name. And he lived like in the field beyond our field. And basically just took his guitar to him and said, could you plane this body off? Because it's like a veneer there. I don't know, is there a way you could just like get rid of that top bit? Obviously knowing nothing about guitars at the time as like a 9-10-year-old. And what that meant was that the trem block would now stick through the back of the guitar because I'd taken off like a significant amount of wood. The thickness of the body wasn't right anymore. Other than that, it sort of played okay still. And eventually I would get an Ibanez RG7620, and that would kind of be the guitar that I would play quite a lot, and then an Ibanez SZ20. So I did stay on that Ibanez train for a while, I guess. But then for a music tech project when I was about 16, I stained the body black and got some bare knuckle, I think, nail bombs and put them in here. Something like that, something stupid. Or maybe those went in there later, actually. Either way, the guitar just didn't get played because it needed work. So I got it out of the loft a couple of months ago, and John, very kindly said, I'll take a look at that. So again, as I say, a huge shout out to John, because this wouldn't have happened without his help. John Martin. Find him on Facebook and say, work on my guitar, please. And I still have these original Sure Grips, or they might have been some replacements that I bought. I do have some other Sure Grip knobs over there, and put them on. I asked Monty's if they would help me out here, because I didn't have like the original electronics, or what I did have was kind of butchered. So in my yellow K-line, I actually have some of these pickups in there. I think they're called like pre-65s. This is like 6K, and this one's a bit hotter at like 7-ish. John did take a measurement of them all, but I couldn't be happier with how the guitar sounds. This is a guitar that I would have spent absolutely hours playing along in like a little back room in a Devonshire farmhouse it was like a 16th century Tudor farmhouse with like this back room that was like damp and stuff. I had a little Goodman's tape thing. My dad had shown me Thin Lizzy. He had a vinyl of Live and Dangerous, and we recorded that to tape, and I had a cassette tape, and I would just play along with Live and Dangerous, and you know, this just takes me kind of back. Now the next question for me really is, since I'm enjoying playing the guitar, now I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. It's got kind of like a little bit of flamey stuff to the maple on this. It's just, the neck, I thought I was going to find a little bit on the skinny side, but actually playing it, it's quite comfortable still. So that's, to be honest, a nice surprise. The tone from it, I think, sounds really good to me. The weight is good. The only question for me is, do I, so it's I think a 3-piece body, do I refinish the body and put it into something like a nice sort of see-through white sort of setup? I don't know. So that would require, I think, you know, a little bit more sanding. Or is it fine the way it is? What do you reckon? It's very much a sort of barn caster build right at the moment looking, because this is kind of gross. It's comfortable to play. What do you reckon? Is that worth putting in a little bit more effort, getting that like a nice sort of aged whitish finish? Love to know your thoughts. Anyway, I'm very happy to have this in a playable condition again. So much to thank John for, and also Monty's, who make some fantastic sounding pickups, I have to say. I'm very impressed with how they sound in this guitar. So yeah, thanks so much to the guys at Monty's. Thanks so much to John Martin. And yeah, if you've got an old guitar, I would say that you've left unloved for a while, before you spend money on like a new guitar, to me, there's something really nice about this idea about a guitar that you already once had a connection to. You might be able to get some more life out of it. Take it to a local luthier and see what they can do for you, because, you know, it's not going to be as much money as buying a brand new guitar, and you might find that you actually end up with something that means a little bit more to you. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers for stopping by.